This is CBN NewsWatch.
It is Tuesday, February 11th. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, voters go to the polls in New Hampshire. It could make some Democrats' chances and possibly break some others. We're going to take a look at who stands where. The death toll from the coronavirus tops 1,000 and it is still rising. But is the Chinese government taking care of its people or its own political future? Here at home, two conservatives running for office for the first time in the Democratic state of New York. What's pushed them to get into politics? And we're going to tell you how you can improve your brain's health and your connection with God. All those stories and more are ahead in this edition of CBN NewsWatch. We begin this hour with the Democratic Party underway in New Hampshire. Voters finally making their choice after months of campaigning. Socialist Bernie Sanders has a solid lead in the polls. He believes a victory could start him on the path to becoming the party's nominee. And the man in second place, South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg, has been criticizing Sanders.
If we win here tomorrow, I think we got a path to victory for the Democratic nomination.
There is a hole in Senator Sanders' plan financially that's bigger than the entire size of the United States economy. I think it's an example of the kind of politics that frustrates people, big promises and not a lot behind it.
Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar is hoping for a strong finish as well, while former Vice President Joe Biden, who trails badly in the polls, says his time will come after the New Hampshire primary.
As you've probably heard, we're on a bit of a surge.
Stick with me 24 more hours, and I promise you we're going to do just fine.
Former Vice President Joe Biden is facing increasingly tough competition in an upcoming primary he planned on winning, talking about South Carolina. And a new Quinnipiac national poll brought good news for Sanders. He is in first place, ahead of Biden, who's at 17%, Sanders at 25%, with former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg in third with 15%. President Donald Trump also paid a campaign visit to New Hampshire last night, where he took aim at the Democrats and Senator Sanders and his Medicare for All health care plan.
Washington Democrats have never been more extreme. Taking their cues from Crazy Bernie, 132 congressional Democrats have signed up for Bernie's health care takeover that would strip 180 million Americans of their very, very coveted private coverage. The Democrat Party wants to run your health care, but they can't even run a caucus in Iowa.
And as usual, the president turned out a sizable crowd. Overseas, the death toll from the coronavirus has now climbed to more than 1,000, with more than 100 dying in just one day. Worldwide, the total number of cases is now more than 43,000 and still climbing. But the real numbers may be higher. In China, President Xi Jinping visited a health center in Beijing as citizens continue questioning the government's handling of the spreading of the disease. China expert Gordon Chang told CBN News' Faith Nation program he believes the communist leaders are still focusing on the political aspects of the problem and not public health.
Beijing has gone back to its old ways of secrecy. On January 26th, the Communist Party announced the formation of its coordinating committee. It's called a leading group. And of the 9 people, only 1 was a public health professional. The group is heavy with propaganda types, including its vice chairman. And the chairman is the premier of the country, who is considered to be politically expendable. So that shows in a very visible way that Beijing is much more serious about controlling the narrative than it is solving the problem.
Chang believes the number of cases may be climbing higher in China well into the month of May before finally trailing off in the summer. Palestinians delayed a UN Security Council vote against President Trump's Middle East peace plan, set apparently because it lacked support. But Authority Chairman Mahmoud Abbas will still address a special debate on it at the UN today. But as CBN's Julie Stahl reports, the plan deals with the issues that have long been on the table.
Palestinian leaders rejected President Trump's so-called deal of the century outright, even threatening to leave the Oslo Accords of the 1990s. But the question remains, has a deal ever been close between Israelis and Palestinians?
Basically, all the previous plans that were put on the table didn't work. If they did work, we'd be having peace right now.
Former Israeli UN Ambassador Dori Gold worked with the United States in developing this current plan. U.S. Ambassador to Israel David Friedman says a strong, secure, and prosperous Israel is good for America.
When we approach the President's vision for peace and prosperity, we begin with that foundational principle.
Friedman also points out Palestinians have a chance to double the land they now control in the West Bank, expand Gaza, and connect the two.
And for the Palestinian people, they should understand that America stands with them in what I believe is their desire, a desire that they have a hard time expressing because it's a repressive society, but we stand with them in their desire to achieve a democratic, more prosperous state. And we're not putting our fingerprints on any new state that doesn't have those characteristics.
One positive Israel sees is recognition of its sovereignty over Israeli communities in Judea and Samaria. But Friedman warned Israeli politicians against getting ahead of the plan with a tweet over the weekend. Israel is subject to the completion of a mapping process by a joint Israeli-American committee. Any unilateral action in advance of the completion of the committee process endangers the plan and American recognition. Friedman later explained,
"It wasn't a threat. Just let people know where we stand. We might have had some difference of view as to timing, but in very short order it became clear that we were all on the same page."
Regarding security, he said, Israel will defend itself by itself.
The state of Israel will defend this region. They are by far the best equipped to do it. They are by far the best incentivized to do it. And security is simply not, it's not a game. It's not a political issue.
Friedman said the 2005 handover of Gaza made it clear that evacuation is no option. That's because Israel removed some 8,000 Israelis from Gaza in a unilateral move for peace and got rockets instead. Now the stakes are higher.
I mean, you're talking about the biblical heartland of the state of Israel, and not 8,000 people, but however you slice it, 10, 20, 50, 100,000 people. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
Friedman told journalists no issues have been solved going back to the 1967 Six-Day War, and they're not going away.
The Palestinians in 52 years have done nothing to create any type of a political movement that provides Israel with any sense of certainty or calm or assurances that the Palestinians won't be a threat to Israel if they were to achieve statehood.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Back here at home, the Michigan Diocese of the Episcopal Church has its first female and openly lesbian bishop. The Reverend Bonnie A. Perry was consecrated and ordained Saturday during a ceremony in the Detroit suburb of Dearborn. She was elected last June. Perry said at a news conference Friday, "If you look at Scripture, Jesus said absolutely nothing about homosexuality. And over again, we see Jesus always being with people who were perceived by other folks to be on the margin, to be outsiders or less than or not worthy." The Michigan Diocese is one of 4 dioceses in the state. The Episcopal Church has had its first lesbian bishop in 2010. That happened in Los Angeles. Coming up, 2 conservative women running for office for the first time in the heavily Democratic state of New York. So what's pushed them to the political arena against such tough competition? We're going to have that story when we come back.
If you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
You know, I think as a father, it's my job, to lead, just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
It's a David versus Goliath battle for the soul of New York. Two conservative women are running for Congress in this heavily blue state. The odds are stacked against them. So what happened that made it possible for them to not stay out of this fight? Wendy Griffith has the answer.
In January 2019, New York passed the Reproductive Health Act, expanding the right to an abortion for any reason, even to the point of birth. It also eliminated several restrictions on abortion. Democratic Governor Andrew Cuomo signed the nation's most aggressive abortion bill into law as state representatives cheered. Later that night, the governor ordered the One World Trade Center to be lit in pink to celebrate the event and, quote, shine a bright light forward for the rest of the nation to follow. It was the straw that broke the camel's back for attorney Beth Parlato of Buffalo and real estate agent and author Liz Joy of Albany.
I've had enough. When you have people that are supposed to be role models for your children, the governor of New York, clapping and cheering and lighting up buildings for aborting children all the way up until the time of delivery, I just decided that I've had enough.
Joy is a doctor's wife and mother of 4 grown children who has never run for political office before. She says as a Christian and lifelong resident of New York, she couldn't stand by and do nothing.
Our country is built on this Judeo-Christian foundation. And I see in the House of Representatives, we have professed socialists. Socialists do not respect human life. Socialists do not respect freedom.
Parlato, whose campaign ad features her big Italian family passing around grandma's pasta and meatballs, says it's her love of family and family values that compelled her to run in New York's 27th congressional district.
As a conservative and as a Christian, family is everything to me. My kids are everything. What kind of world are we going to have for our children and for my grandchildren if we don't do something about what's going on in our nation right now?
Although Joy and Parlato have plenty of passion, what they'll need come Election Day are votes. And as the new kids on the block, they face an uphill battle. Liz Joy is running in a Democratic stronghold against incumbent Paul Tonko, a 70-year-old career politician who has held the seat since 2009. He voted against the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act, which protects babies who survive a botched abortion. He voted that those infant children should not receive any medical care. He's also a strong supporter of Planned Parenthood.
I'm deeply concerned by the misguided fixation to take away valuable resources from women with efforts to defund Planned Parenthood.
Joy says Tonko's abortion views are too extreme for many New Yorkers, even some Democrats.
I am conservative, and I am pro-choice also, but I think that was too aggressive.
This is kind of a decision between women and their doctors instead of amongst male legislators.
So you're okay with being a resident of the state with the most aggressive abortion laws in the country?
Well, yes, because I think that government should really get out of making that decision.
I don't like it. I think taking a human life is wrong. And I don't believe that an inconvenience is something that should justify that.
Meanwhile, Beth Parlato is running in the state's most Republican district, New York's 27th, just outside of Buffalo. The attorney, former judge, and former Fox News contributor
will try to fill the seat previously held by Republican Chris Collins. Collins recently resigned before pleading guilty to charges related to insider trading.
The election to win in this election is the primary. So whoever gets through the primary will be the next Congresswoman.
Parlato believes we are one election away from socialism and says there are too few conservative women in office.
We have 13 Republican women in Congress. There's 90 Democratic women in Congress. So the loudest voices are the voices on the left. And we don't even hear anything from the Republican women. We need more Republican women to sit at that table and to get things done for our families, for our nation, and really for the voters in New York State, in my district.
In order to sit at that table, Parlato will have to beat two other Republicans, both current New York State senators, Rob Ort and Chris Jacobs. But Parlato believes she has the edge.
Everywhere I go, no matter where I speak at, speaking in front of homeschool groups or conservative Christian groups or Christian radio or even conservative radio, no matter where I go, the reception has been overwhelming.
For Joy, winning in a solid blue district will depend in large part on the evangelical turnout. In 2016, she wrote a book called How to Be Salt and Light, The Christian's Guide to Voting. She says if believers will get out and vote, they can change the political landscape of America.
In 2016, the country had the largest evangelical Christian voting bloc that ever turned out in the history of the nation to vote. And we have President Donald Trump, as a result, a pro-life president and a pro-life, yes, pro-Israel. That's right. Christians need to be steering the country instead of it being the other way around.
Win or lose on Election Day, Joy and Parlato say this is not the time to be silent. They hope their campaigns will inspire others to let their voices be heard for such a time as this. Wendy Griffith, CBN News, New York.
Still ahead, today's modern lifestyle can be bad for your health, including your brain. We have an interview with an expert who explains why and explains how you can turn that around. We've got that story for you. It's coming up right after this.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5 Wednesday night at 9:30.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
Welcome back. New research shows modern life can rewire the way our brains work. Research shows an unhealthy diet, too much screen time, and not enough sleep can actually lead to poor decision making. But take heart. On this week's Healthy Living, our Lori Johnson talks to a brain doctor who identifies the ways you can turn that around.
And you say, really, what we need to avoid are things that have a lot of sugar in them and that are packaged, processed foods, and then gravitate towards the things that are on the outside of the grocery store, especially the produce department. But you also really focus on healthy fats. You love those.
Who knew? Who knew in this day and age that you and I would be having a discussion on a health-related program about the value of having more fat in the diet? But it's the good fat. It's the fat from nuts and seeds and fish, for example. Those are good oils, good fats that actually, towards our discussion of inflammation, help turn inflammation down, and that's what we want. You know, when you are eating those pro-inflammatory foods, as mentioned, that leads to more impulsive decision-making. And guess what? That's more impulsive decision-making as it relates to the foods we eat. So you eat those foods, then you have more inflammation. And what happens? You eat more of those foods. It's a vicious cycle. The same on-ramp would be getting not enough restorative sleep. 1/3 of American adults do not get enough restorative sleep, quality and quantity. And the very next day, there's as much as a 60% increased activity of this impulsivity center, the amygdala.
Wow.
Whereby that next morning, we all know this to be true, that you get a bad night's sleep, the next day you don't eat right.
Oh, yeah.
And ultimately, not eating right means that you may gain weight. And if you gain weight, you're not going to sleep very well. Another vicious cycle. You know, it's our research showed that when people chronically get poor sleep, their average caloric increase per day is around 380 more calories per day without an equal increase burn, an energy burn. So
wow.
That means a pound of fat within a week.
Wow, and so one of the greatest diet tips out there is get enough sleep, but people will say, oh, I'd love to get enough sleep, but I can't do it. I know that's a word that we shouldn't use, but a lot of times people can't fall asleep or else they'll wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and can't get back to sleep.
Well, we address that, and we're giving people great ideas in terms of what we call sleep hygiene. How do you create an environment that allows you to get exactly what we're talking about, restorative sleep that helps you reconnect to the decision maker, the better decision maker? And that would be, for example, let's not have caffeine after 2 p.m. Let's limit our exposure to computer screens in the evening because they contain blue light. Blue light inhibits the body's ability to make melatonin, and that will keep you up at night. Let's not eat just before we go to bed. Let's get our exercise perhaps a little earlier in the day. We outline an entire program looking just at sleep because it turns out that sleep, or lack thereof, is a powerful way to keep you from accessing this good decision maker in your brain, this area that allows you the ability to be empathetic and compassionate towards others and even towards yourself.
And a lot of people say, well, I'm too busy. I would love to get 8 hours of sleep a night, but I'm too busy. But then you just got done saying, maybe if you cut back on the 6 hours of screen time every day or the hour that you spend on social media every day.
People seem to believe in our culture, and certainly in Japanese culture more so, that staying up late is the way to be more productive, get more done, waking up really early. And who needs to sleep? That's valuable time. I could be doing whatever. Well, it turns out that the opposite is true, that when you get a good night's sleep, you're much more creative, much more productive, and you're actually a lot more fun to be around the very next day, and you make better choices as it relates to what we've talked about, your food and exercise.
Now, to hear more ways to make your brain function at its peak, you can tune into Healthy Living. That is tonight at 9:30. You'll find it on the CBN News Channel. Coming up, why one pastor says getting you a rest can actually help you not only be more creative, but to also have a deeper connection with God. We've got that story for you when we come back. Stay with us.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy.
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain, get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
So how long has it been since you took a day off? I mean, really took a day off, unplugged your phone, ignored your email, relaxed, and just took time to regroup? Well, Gateway Church Senior Pastor Robert Morris says getting rest can actually help you be more creative and to have a deeper connection with God.
We have a spiritual tank. We know that, and we know to pray and read our Bible and things, but we think that's all. But there's a physical tank. You can physically get exhausted.
Yeah.
There's a mental tank. You can get so exhausted, your mind, you can't create. You can't come with these new ideas. You can't be the entrepreneur that God's called us all to be as believers, because we're creative people. We were created by a creative God. And then there's an emotional tank. And you don't have emotions for your spouse. You don't have emotions for your kids. All of a sudden, you're flying off the handle. Anger's coming out. Depression. All these things are symptoms, really, in our society of not resting. It's an epidemic.
Not resting is indeed an epidemic. Now, to catch the full interview with Pastor Robert Morris, be sure to watch Prayer Link. Now, you can find the Prayer Link tonight on the CBN News Channel. It begins at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. All right, now it is time for your Tuesday Tweetable. This is a message I hope will inspire you, and then I hope you will post, tag, tweet, and share this message with people in your circles of influence. Remember this: the enemy comes to steal, kill, and to destroy. But God is here to give you life beyond your wildest dreams. And the good news is, this is a battle where we already know the outcome. The final chapter of the book is written, and God wins every time. And with God in you, you win every time as well. Well, that will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. We thank you so much for watching. Remember, you can find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel at any time. You can also find those programs online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know, what do you think about the stories you've seen here today or any day? Please feel free to email us. That email address is right there on your screen. It's newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We certainly would love to hear from you. Hope you'll join us again right here next time. Make it a terrific Tuesday. We'll see you right back here, same time tomorrow. Goodbye and God bless.